Recording in progress.
Good afternoon, Michael Cooper.
Afternoon.
Thank you so much for joining us today. Welcome to our Zoom meeting. This is Santoshi Shah from Mabler ASD Canada. So without further ado, let's get started.
Good to be with you.
Okay, Mr. Michael Cooper. So as we know, Canadian people are suffering from mental health and they deserve hope and treatment. Why expanding MAID is not a solution? Don't you think we should take a responsible step to make their life more better?
Absolutely. We should be working to provide hope and help to persons who are struggling with mental illness. Instead, the Liberals want to offer persons with mental illness death through the provision of MAID. And I think that's just fundamentally wrong.
Yeah, that's correct. And what kind of a step Conservative Party will take? As we know, in the hospital, people have to wait prolonged waiting time and they face challenges every step of their healthcare journey.
That's right, and we're facing in Canada today a mental health crisis. And in 3 years from now, the mental illness will be, someone with a mental illness will be eligible for MAID under a bill that the Liberals introduced this week. It would have come into effect next month, but they're kicking the can down the road. But the bottom line is they're moving ahead with this. And I've got to say, the Minister of Health, Mark Holland, said that it is a moral imperative to move ahead with MAID for mental illness. What moral imperative is Mark Holland talking about? The moral imperative of giving up on someone, of offering them death instead of hope and help? I think it speaks more broadly to, frankly, the moral bankruptcy of Justin Trudeau's Liberals.
Yeah, that's correct. I can understand. And how we can help to those individuals who are suffering and affected by combined challenges of COVID-19, high cost of living and inflation, which impact the mental health, right?
Well, we need to ensure that there are proper mental health support so that people who need help can get help. But part of the mental health crisis is tied in, as you note, to the cost of living crisis. That is a direct result of Justin Trudeau's inflationary spending that have driven up the cost of everything. And to make matters worse, Justin Trudeau's Liberals want to quadruple the carbon tax, which is just another tax that disproportionately penalizes lower and middle income Canadians. So to help improve the cost of living for Canadians, we think Canadians deserve a break, and a Pierre Poilievre Conservative government, as a top priority, will axe Justin Trudeau's carbon tax.
Yeah, and I would like to know more about mature minors. Now the government trying to implement the MAID to the minors who are not even don't know that what's wrong and what's right. So I just want to explore it. So can you tell me what kind of things is happening?
Well, Justin Trudeau's government is considering expanding MAID to so-called mature minors. And they have not moved ahead with legislation, but a special joint committee made a recommendation to expand MAID for so-called mature minors. Liberal MPs on that committee made that recommendation. So although the Liberals haven't acted upon it, it's something that we have to monitor. They've demonstrated that they are pretty radical on the issue of MAID, to the degree that they're moving ahead with MAID and mental health. And so what's next? Perhaps mature minors. We're becoming a real international outlier. And when MAID first was implemented back in 2016, it was sold as something for end of life. That's why it was called medical assistance in dying. It was sold as something for persons who are nearing death, who are suffering, who are competent to make a decision to end their life just a little bit sooner. And now, with MAID and mental illness, and perhaps soon mature minors, MAID is becoming something very, very different. We're heading down a slippery slope, and it is a dark path that we need to, frankly, reverse course on.
Yeah, sure. And lots of people still supporting MAID. Still, we know that this is just a disaster, and expanding MAID is going to be destroy the people, life. So, what's your thought?
I think the more Canadians learn about this, the more alarmed they are. During the study of the Special Joint Committee, which is a committee that I sat on, which was tasked at looking at Canada's readiness for this expansion, which was scheduled to take place in March, but now will be delayed by 3 years, the overwhelming evidence was that Canada is not ready, and Canada likely will never be ready, because this type of expansion is frankly not safe and it's inappropriate. And it's why, in terms of Canadians being concerned, our committee received over 900 briefs from Canadians in the span of a week. So it just underscores public concern, but also amongst experts, leading psychiatrists. There is something approaching a consensus not to move ahead with this. In fact, a survey of Ontario psychiatrists that was released 2 days ago indicated that 80% of Ontario psychiatrists are against expanding MAID in cases of mental illness. But rather than listening to experts and following the evidence, the Liberals are moving ahead in 3 years. I mean, it's completely reckless on a matter that is about life and death. And these Liberals have put ideology ahead of evidence-based decision-making, and it's just so wrong.
Right. So what we can expect from Conservative Party from in the sector of medical?
Well, what a Conservative government will do is permanently scrap this radical and dangerous expansion of MAID for cases of mental illness. The only good news in all of this is that this is a delay of 3 years, meaning that it will be delayed until after the next federal election. And so Canadians will have a choice. They can choose Justin Trudeau's Liberals, who want to offer death instead of help to persons who are struggling with mental health, or they can vote for a common sense Conservative government led by Pierre Poilievre that will provide support and help to persons who are struggling, not death, and scrap this radical and dangerous experiment brought on by the Liberals.
Thank you so much for your time and for your information. Thank you so much.
Thank you.